Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a build guide for the Dark Ranger in Baldur's Gate 3. This is a mod that was made by Hater here, and we'll be focusing on the Cloak Wood Warden subclass. There's a few different subclasses to this. Now the Dark Ranger gets a very cool looking attack with Black Arrow here. Gather necromantic energy into your arrow and harm your targets using the Black Arrow charges there. You're going to get more charges at level 4 and 10, and you also get different types of attacks you can use from this. Now, we also get Bone Chill here alongside Toll the Dead, and class feature Call the Weak. Attacks enemies with less than 50% hit points of advantage and gain reduction of critical hit chance by 1 for every 3 levels that we gain. I'll also be showing this build off for level 12 here. We also get to take a class passive with Restless Perception, which will give you advantage in your perception checks. My personal preference is Point Blank. When you make ranged attacks within melee range, your attack rolls do not have disadvantage. And then there's the Haunting Movement, which will increase your movement speed, and this scales up as you increase in level. And now for our stats, I'd recommend going with something like this. You can use the Hag's Hair to take the dexterity up higher, or we can just flatten out our stats as such. Now level 2, we get ourselves our first selection for spells here, and we even have things like Mark of Putrefaction, which is my recommendation. Mark in target to make it vulnerable to necrotic damage. We also have things like Inflict Wounds, which can be comboed with that Mark of Putrefaction since it's a bonus action. Now, we get a fighting style, archery or defense. Defense is great if you want to be an all-rounder. Archery if you want to shoot with your bow. Level 3 gives us our subclass, and here's where we get to choose. There's the Deathmaster, Darkstalker, Wraith Touch, and Necromycos here as well, but we'll be focusing on the Cloakwood Warden. I'm a big fan of the Beastmaster, and this is somewhat similar. You get different summons depending on what we're going to roll with here. So our next level spell, I'd actually recommend going with Inflict Wounds because we can combo those together for some crazy damage. Another good option is Hunter's Mark as a bonus action to apply more damage, or Longstrider. For our next passive, I'd recommend grabbing Haunting Movement. And level 4 just gives us our first feat. We could go with the Sharpshooter there. This is going to make it so that we can not get disadvantage or ranged weapon attack rolls from low ground, but also get a -5 to our attack rolls, and then we can increase the damage by 10. This is pretty crazy, although in the early game this is a little bit difficult. However, we took archery, so we only have a -3 technically if we count that in. So it makes it a little bit easier for us to land our shots. Level 5 gives us an extra attack, and we also get our Companion's Bond, adding our proficiency bonus to the armor class and damage rolls. Great. We also get Corpse Skin spell here, protect a creature from attacks, increasing its armor class to 16. And giving it a poison resistance until long rest as a concentration. I like darkness on a Dark Ranger type build like this. I should also just quickly mention that you may have to search up Dark Rangers, all one word like this here, for this to actually pop up. So just a heads up on that. Just thought of that now. But yeah, we're going to go with darkness. Another good choice is Pass Without Trace. A +10 to stealth checks is insanely good. Level 6 gives us another choice for class passive, and this is now expanded so that we have advantage on death rolls. We can also get Deathly Sight. You can perceive surroundings without relying on sight. Resistance necrosis, so to give you necrotic damage resistance, and the Spectral Presence, giving advantage on stealth checks. There's other ways to get advantage on stealth checks in the game, so you don't have to pick that, but it is a good choice too. Level 7 gives us another spell. I think that Pass Without Trace is incredible, and a big bonus, you can actually get another caster on your team to cast Greater Invisibility on you and combo it together. It's very strong. We also got Difficult Terrain will no longer slow us down. That's always a good thing. We'll go with the Alert feat now, as we're going to be hitting hard. We may as well go first in combat, or you can use a Dexterity improvement. Our next level spell, we do get cool things like the Wailing Arrow here, deals piercing damage in the area that fails to save, will also get silenced. Then there's also things like Lesser Blight here, which is great because we can apply vulnerability to necrotic damage. And then we can take another choice here with Restless Perception being a good choice, or even the Resistant Necrosis if you are in Act 2. That could be, I guess at this point, probably not, but it would still be helpful at certain points. Level 10 gives us that Hide Without in Plain Sight there. Level 11 is going to give us the Savage Attacker, so we can reroll our damage die and use the higher result. This is on melee weapon attacks, so just heads up on that. And we also got the Bestial Fury here, which now gives our companions an extra attack. We also get to take another spell here. I'd recommend actually the Lesser Blade. Actually, one moment. This does have a level 4 spell slot that it costs, so just heads up. I'm still going to select it just because. Level 12, our final level, could go with an ability score improvement on dexterity. Can also go with the lucky feat. I normally say crossbow expert, but we already basically have the features that we want from it. So I'd say that a dexterity increase is our best choice. And if you're wondering about this equipment that I got on my character, this is actually a mod that dropped last week. This is the Acheron Clothing and Light Armor here by Onyx Omens here. This looks incredible. And if you're wondering about the cloak, that is from Linaria's Cloak Pack 2. It's available on Nexus, not in the in-game mod manager like the previous mod. Now for our base game equipment, I'm just going to go rapid fire here. People usually skip these sections of the videos, but anything that's going to boost our attack rolls, the sharpshooter is nice, so the Mask of Soul Perception. However, we got darkness, so the Steel Watcher helmet can let us see it. So that's also a good choice. Cloak of Protection, +1 armor class. We got Ballast Armor for close range because we don't get disadvantage on close range attacks. This is the best in slot. Makes targets vulnerable to piercing damage. Combos well with the Boots of Stormy Clamor, which will apply reverberation on those targets because that's a condition. And also the Legacy of the Master for +1 or 2 to attack and damage rolls. This is nice because this will let us be able to do our ranged attacks. And yes, I can confirm that we actually can't use a Lesser Blade unless we were to combine and use another spell mod, like another level mod that gives us more spell slots to be able to cast that. So if you wanted to take this level 20, you could actually add in the Real Ranger and use the Gloomstalker alongside 2 levels of the Fighter, 3 for the Eldritch Knight. Now for our main weapon, I have the Dolor Amaris on here for critical hits giving 7 more damage. That becomes 14. And we also have the Titan String Bow, which will add additional damage equal to our strength modifier. Drink a strength potion, or you can put the Club of Hill Giant Strength in your offhand. I have Iconia's Walking Fortress for all the defensive purposes. I got the Amulet of Greater Health to put our health high. Caustic Band, 2 points of damage, and if we use Arrow of Many Targets, that gets spread to everybody. And also the Shadow Cloaked Ring here, which will give us an additional 1d4 of damage against lightly or heavily obscured targets, which is going to be often if we use the Steel Watch Helmet. And for our summons, we do have things like the Displacer Beast, the Death Hound, Shadow Ravens, which are pretty good, Grave Spider, Needle Blade, and the Vine Blade. So you got your choice in those, and this is only once per long rest, so it's something to keep in mind that unlike the other one, it's per short rest, this one's per long rest, but they're all pretty solid in all things considered. I want to pop down the Death Hound here because I like the Death Hound. So yeah, we got this dog here, Devil Dog. Skeletal Hound has got a bit more health. It also has the Bite Attack, Lupine Slash, and a Lunging Bite Attack. And it also has a Septic Infectious Bite, which again, we can apply vulnerabilities to necrotic damage. So starting off in combat, since we got that Mark of Putrefaction here, you can set up, if there's a target you really want gone, this is the thing to use on them. So this target here can use Counterspell, I want them gone. So I sent on that, the 100 Mark Quarry applied. It also applies the Reverberation here. So then we can go ahead with our Black Arrow, which if we use the fully upgrade, it's 48 necrotic damage, which will end up being 100 damage. It becomes a little crazy. We're just gonna use the lowest version because that's still gonna be more than enough. I don't need to roll that crit. Yeah, we hit 64 necrotic damage, so it's 32 necrotic damage plus the additional vulnerability there. So it said 24 necrotic damage, we somehow got a 32. I see, it actually takes our Titan weapon. So using the Titan String Bow is actually really good here because, yeah, you get to add extra damage on top of that. Wild! Now, another good thing is since we can attack from close range without getting any disadvantages, we may as well embrace that. So you can get in close. This is great too if someone has counters or a hold person on target. And with Arrow of Many Targets, if you use a crit on the first target, it crits everybody. So yeah, you can see there's set 82, 90, 72. We're hitting like a truck because we got the Ballast Armor on there. So typically, yeah, you want to go in and start using this range attack and spreading around, hoping that you can crit many people, 35, 26, 26 damage. I'm also going to attack their back line there. I don't get the vulnerability applied to them, but we're applying Reverberation. If they come close to us, they'll then get hit with the Reverberation, get knocked prone. So that's something that you want to be kind of thinking about, is if you can apply Reverberation with those boots, the targets that run closer to you because of your armor will end up getting knocked prone, ending their turn. And we use up all of our actions and bonus actions, so we're out of combat. And now our dog is great because it can go wherever we can't, so that's something that's nice, is it can jump into some certain areas. Infectious Bite's pretty cool. You can use that to apply sepsis. Oh, I attack the floor. Love when I do that. Oh, it has the extra attack too. Sweet. Let's try that again. It's being really weird. That's why I attack the floor. It actually doesn't let me target this target. Okay, it can let me target my pest right there. So there we go. We got 10 damage. And they're now Septic, which reduces their constitution by 1 and gets disadvantage on their constitution checks. And on our turn again, anytime we're surrounded, typically our best option is to stock up on Arrow of Many Targets. But we do have, basically, we want to use that Black Arrow there. We can start off with our Mark of Putrefaction. Now it will break the concentration here because it is counting as a hunter's mark, so that's one thing. You can't actually use it again since we do have a concentration currently up, and if we break the concentration we end up losing our action, so it's not worth doing. We're just going to go ahead with our next arrow target. Actually, I'm going to upcast that because the damage from that's pretty insane. Nice, good miss, love that. And we'll lose up the last of our resources here on this final one. Good, we got 44 damage there, is what we needed. Then I'll roll with another Arrow of Many Targets because really we need yeah, there we go, that was it. try to hit as many targets as possible. That's the greatest thing about archers is all of that. We also have the wailing arrow there that does use a spell and hits in a large area of effect there. So that's what this arrow looks like. Cool darkness effect, it'll silence targets. That black arrow though is really nice with that darkness that surrounds it. So yeah, that is the Dark Ranger SE. You may again have to search up Dark Rangers SE just as you see there, because it has no space in the name. And again, that outfit is the Acheron clothing and light armor. And I also had the Lunarius cloak pack. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoy, and we'll catch you all in the next video.